Muslim Women Talk Ramadan podcast. She joins us now. Morning to you, Shalina.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us. And for those maybe not familiar with Ramadan, tell us about its importance for Muslims.
So fasting for the month of Ramadan for Muslims is considered one of the fundamental pillars of Islamic practice. And what that means is that during daylight hours, you don't eat or drink or have any other physical intake. But it's also about spiritual transformation. So it's about using that time to think more about yourself and to transform and have a breath from the daily grind, and really think about the kind of people we want to be.
How difficult is the fasting process?
Well, this year the fast is from around 5 a.m. until about 6 p.m. until the time changes, and then it will finish later at 7 a.m. So I think for people who've not done it, it can be difficult. Some people find it a real struggle, and some people find it really easy, and that applies to both the physical and the mental health aspects of it.
I mean, you say a time of reflection, but for many it's also a very busy time, so perhaps there's a conflict there, or a contradiction at least.
Well, that paradox is exactly the reason that we started this podcast about Muslim Women Talk Ramadan, because for women in particular, the fasting, this urge for the spiritual transformation actually can come with a lot more responsibilities, particularly around cooking and childcare, and people are still often working. And that big evening meal called iftar, when you break your fast in the evening, has a really celebratory feel. And so the best example, the best kind of analogy is that it's like cooking 30 Christmas dinners in a row, and then possibly even cooking again later in the evening. And for women in particular, trying to convey that really magical experience to their families and to their children and create those special Ramadan memories. So it can get really, really exhausting. And Muslim women want a space to talk about some of those challenges and how we give ourselves a bit of me time.
And what response have you had so far?
It's been really well received. What the podcast tries to do is to call it like a Ramadan BFF. We all need somebody to help us through from the beginning to the end. And the first episode, which just went live yesterday, was about trying to work out where we are and how we go from doing to being. And then we're going to talk about compassion, self-respect and kindness over the coming weeks. And then we've got some really great headline guests to inspire us. So we've got Baroness Saida Wasi talking to us about her Ramadan this week, and Nadia Hussein, who's going to come on next week, and then more guests after that. So hopefully there's some inspiration for women about how they can do things and take charge of their own Ramadan.
Again, let's go back to the fasting. Are there exemptions if there are physical reasons why this may be difficult for you, for instance?
Yes, absolutely. So fasting is only obligatory for those who are of adult age and who are healthy. People who are exempt from fasting are children, women who might be pregnant, breastfeeding, menstruating, people who are traveling, or who for health and medical reasons can't fast. So it's not designed for people who might have physical challenges, specifically for those who can physically manage it.
And obviously your podcast is, as you say, a way of perhaps women sharing, but I wonder for non-Muslims, is this a way of gaining a better understanding of what is happening at this time too?
Do you know what? It would be amazing if everybody listened to it, because this is real chat, and it's what it sounds like and feels like to be a woman, to be a Muslim woman. So it's absolutely open to everybody, and I hope everybody will gain a lot from it. And I think we all want to go on this journey of improving our mental health and being rather than rushing around. So everybody's welcome.
Yeah, I wonder whether you feel that non-Muslims should be thinking about their colleagues, for instance, during Ramadan, at a time when perhaps you have to be a little more mindful of what is going on around you.
The magical experience about fasting is that actually only you really know if you're fasting, and that's part of the beauty of that as an act of self-discipline and an act of sacrifice. So I don't think there's any necessary expectation from Muslims that people would wildly adjust their behaviour. I think it's always lovely in a society when people are mindful of what you're going through and, can adjust or accommodate. And I think particularly for employers that can be important. But do you know what? Having colleagues and friends who just say Happy Ramadan, which you can do today, by the way, because it's the first day, and who might not be stuffing a big chocolate cake in their faces right in front of you, because I like chocolate cake. I think that those kinds of sensitivities are always really welcome. So we invite everybody to celebrate Ramadan with us, but we'll be fasting.
Well, happy Ramadan to you. And the podcast is called Muslim Women Talk Ramadan. You can search for it where you get your podcasts. Shalina Jan Mohammed, thank you very much for speaking to us.
Now it's 8:55, and it's been billed as